We are the nerds of the apocalypse.
Alright, we posted on Facebook that we started, so it's official now, right? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, well, I won't say welcome back, but welcome to Soda City Comic Con 2019. First panel of the day, Jeremy Whitley, everybody. Alright, so this panel is described as a creator process panel, from start to finish, from indie to Marvel work. So we're gonna go over Jeremy's what he does now, what he's done before, and how he got there. Sound good? Sounds good to me. Sweet. Okay, so my personal experience with Jeremy is well, not all of it, but the one that I can discuss here is the Princeless books. And you want to talk about the Princeless books? I got these because it resonated a lot with me because, when I first, she's probably 7, she's 10 now, but it really resonated with me when I read the book because, it's described as why does a princess have to be saved? Why is that a thing that happens? Why can't a princess pick up the sword and handle the business herself? And I thought that was very empowering, so I got this, and I've been reading them. Every con I go to Jeremy's table and I pick up the next one. It's like a tradition for me and my daughter to do. So tell us a little bit about Princeless.
So Princeless series I started because I was looking for a comic book for my daughter, who is now 8, but was just a baby when we started coming out with these. But I was looking for something that I would be excited for her to read that had a protagonist who looked like herself, was a young woman of color, and could sort of combat that princess culture stuff without feeling like it was too good for her, right? I think young girls are interested in princesses. It's pretty hard to get away from both from a general cultural standard and because they're going to interact with other little girls and they're going to run into that stuff regardless. So I was like, why don't we make a princess story that's good? That teaches kind of things that I want my daughter to learn and has a princess who is a hard-headed girl who goes off and decides to rescue herself and rescue her sisters. And that's kind of where it started, was just what's in that first volume of her deciding to pick up the sword and go do her thing. And that first volume got nominated for a couple of Eisners, so at that point we'd already intended on continuing to go on, but I think that was obviously we're doing something right. And so we kept going on that, and I think eventually that sort of spun off into Raven the Pirate Princess, which is a sort of YA action adventure series. And then it's sort of built on to other things from there. I think we're done with volume 9 now. That should be coming out in stores in the next couple of months, and then 10 is already in the works.
Nice. And Raven is a spin-off from this, right?
Yes.
That's right. So, besides Princeless, what else are you working on right now?
So Raven, which I mentioned as a spin-off, is still ongoing. That one, it reads a little older. She's a pirate. She's the daughter of a pirate king who's on a quest to get revenge on her brothers. And the thing with Raven is we wanted to have something that had a little more romance, because the main character is gay and has a variety of different types of characters and different types of stories in there that fit a little better into the YA genre than what I was trying to do with Princeless. Which is sort of cool, so we got to expand that. I just finished writing the second volume of Unstoppable Wasp, which I've been doing at Marvel. Issue 10 of that just came out last month. Right now I'm also doing Future Foundation over there, which is a sort of Fantastic Four adjacent Teen Heroes book. Rainbow Bright may or may not still be going on. It's a little difficult to tell right now. And then I've got a bunch of projects that are in some state in between. Some I can't talk about, but then I've got another issue of My Little Pony I'm doing. And then I feel like just about everything. I've done some Vampirella and some a variety of stuff at Marvel, and including Hulk and Thor. So I've actually got some experience with big guys punching each other now.
Was Princeless the first book you worked on?
Probably the second day. Well, it was the second thing that actually got made that I worked on. Because I had a series I was working on with a friend of mine that never got any further than like concept sketches. And I think now I realize partially that that's because I was like, oh, right, I'm just starting out as a comic book writer, you're just starting out as an artist, let's do a 60-issue mega story, which is a very difficult thing to pull off when you're like an established professional comic book writer. An artist much less so. It's much less easy when you're just starting out. I think the smaller the thing is you start with, the more likely you are to get it finished. So that never really happened, and then I had another series called The Order of Dagnet, which is just sort of a comedy series about basically the mythological creatures of Britain return. So there's dragons and minotaurs and centaurs. There's all these things that start showing up, and the only people who can stop them, who can face them, are the Knights of England. But it's all the like celebrity knights.
Right.
So you have Ozzy Osbourne and Elton John and Ian McKellen fighting dragons. That was a lot of fun. I did that with my friend Jason Strutz, who's another North Carolina-based artist, and I think we got all of about 6 issues of that done. So never quite finished it up, but we're self-publishing that. It's a lot of fun.
So when you develop Princeless, this is correct me if I'm wrong, Action Labs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so did you pitch it for Action Labs, or did you make this and they came to you and said, hey, want to pick it up?
So I pitched it to a couple of people and didn't have much luck with just sort of pitching it around. And I worked with an artist to make the first issue, which doesn't look anything like the first issue that's in here. Basically, I was carrying it around with me to conventions like this one, and trying to sell people on that one issue of comics. And it just so happened that Heroes Con, 8 or 9 years ago at this point, I was right next to a guy named Dave Dwanch, who's a fantastic artist and writer from the Bay Area, and we both had just a terrible convention. We couldn't sell anything to save our lives. But like when you sit next to somebody all day long, you get to hear their pitches. And he was really interested in the idea, and it just so happened that he and a group of friends who were also creators were getting ready to start Action Lab as a comic book company. And they had 1 or 2 of their books that they were getting ready to put out, but they were looking for other new books to bring in to the line. And
you're like, hey, look at that.
I got a call from Dave, and he's like, yeah, we really like the story, we're not so keen on the art. And I was like, that's cool, because my artist already bailed on me. Because it's my friend that I was working on it with was like, it's a graphic artist, and he's like, oh, this comics takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
you gotta draw a lot more stuff than like, he's a great graphic artist, but he would do a print and sell that print to hundreds of people.
Right, and then and with this, it's like print, and even a page is more intricate than a print.
Yeah, I mean, most good artists, finish 1, 2, maybe 3 pages in a day if that, really goes to the grindstone. So like a single issue of a comic is legitimately a month's worth of work. That's just like pencils, which get the inking and coloring and everything, and it could take forever. But yeah, it's it was not his deal. And I was like, cool, that's fine, you can go. But yeah, he set me up with Mia Goodwin and then Emily Martin, who ended up being the ongoing artist for the series. And they've been fantastic to work with.
What's the process? So when you write the book, what's the process from writer to artist? Like, how does that work?
Usually, I think when I start writing a new series or I start working with a new artist, I try and be as specific about what I want as possible, as far as how the panel should be laid out, where things should be, without being like rude.
Right. No. Yeah.
Without making it sound like I don't think they know how to draw. But I think the more detail you put into what you want, the more you're specific about the things that have to be on the page, the less that ends up involving redrawing or rewriting, doing things like that. so I think when I'm starting, I'll tend to be more specific. I'll tend to tell people exactly what I'm after. I think colors is probably the area that I end up going back the most and being like, hey, I want it like this. It needs to be this way. I think especially with it tends to be an issue, especially with skin color on darker skin characters, of like characters getting lightened up over time. It's like, no, it needs to go back over this way. I give some notes, but I try not to over note people, and especially I think the longer I've been working with an artist, generally the freer I am with stuff. I think at this point, Emily, who I've been working with for 6 or 7 years at this point, knows what I'm after most of the time. Right. So I found if I really want to like cut to Emily knowing exactly what I'm talking about, I have to reference like a 90s anime. That's really her thing, is if it's anime or goth culture, Emily's on top of it. So I'll have to like push it over that way. But I think when you work with somebody for a while, you get to know like what they're really good at and what they like drawing, and the more that you can like feed the stuff they enjoy doing and make their job enjoyable, because as an artist they're going to spend much more time with the pages than you are as a writer, the better it's going to end up being.
Now, when you make a transition from like Action Labs to your Marvel work you've done, does Marvel contact you, or do you just like constantly pitch for Marvel and they're like, okay, or do they come to, if they see this book is dope, let's get him on board? How does that work?
For me, it was mostly annoying them. I think that the trick is to let them know you're interested without pitching them stuff, right? Because most companies, Marvel included, don't really take outside pitches on ongoing stuff, especially if they have a book that's going on. They've got a guy writing Spider-Man already. They don't need to hire you to write Spider-Man. But like, I think what I ended up doing was taking Princeless and other work I had done and sending that stuff to editors and letting them know that I was working on things. Keep showing that I have sort of consistent output, that I'm making more stuff, and sort of point out how that relates to what they're doing, as far as or what I feel like gaps are even for them. It's like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. I think this is how it would benefit Marvel for you to have that. And I think eventually it just got to the point that I don't know if it was that I just was too annoying, that they couldn't continue to ignore me, or they were looking for something, and one of the associate editors who's working on a big thing as part of a tie-in was like, hey, would you be interested in writing, like they were doing a romance book for part of Secret Wars, the first book I did, and would you be interested in pitching us some ideas of characters you'd like to use in a story like this? So I ended up writing a Danny Rand, Iron Fist, and Misty Knight story for that. It's my first thing I'd ever written with them. I got to use two of my favorite characters.
That's cool. I feel like that's good too with something like Secret Wars, because it's all those stories are stuff that's like not. It's canon, the best word used. At the end of Secret Wars, it's like, oh, we're writing everything. So it's just like it's a lot of freedom. Kind of pitch and do what you want, as compared to something like writing Spider-Man, where it's like, all right, from 2018 to 2020, this is the story for Spider-Man filling in. Now, does Marvel hold the reins a lot more than like an Action Labs would?
I think generally, yeah. I think Marvel is pretty open to trying things. They will definitely say no to you though. Like, there are definitely things that I've pitched that they've been like, either we don't think that'll work, or it doesn't fit in with what we're doing in our 800 other books that are coming out this month. There is sort of a question of weaving between the raindrops there, because obviously I couldn't have Thor just show up in a Wasp story, because he's been doing all this stuff over in War of the Realms. So you gotta figure out who's available and what pieces you can actually play with, and be I think amicable to being like, okay, well, I can't do that, here's another idea, here's another thing, and not just get too attached to pieces you have to play with and say, no, I don't want to share, I don't want to do this thing, I want it this way.
So they came to you and said, all right, we want you to do a Wasp story, right?
Yeah, I've been, I've done a couple of short stories for them in anthologies and tie-ins, and they're like, yeah, we're looking to do a series with Nadia, who's the new Wasp, and we don't really know what we want it to be. She's only appeared these 3 times, a couple times in Avengers and one time in the Free Comic Book Day story where she first showed up. What would you like to do with this character? What would you pitch? And I came up with some ideas and tossed stuff around. I think we went back and forth until we came up with something that I liked and they felt was doable.
Right. Well, I know it's a essentially different character than the original Wasp. Did you go back and check out Wasp books in the past, and what kind of research did you do before you started writing, started actually working on Wasp?
The first thing I did was I went and harassed Mark Waid. Mark had just created the character a few months before. I was like, Mark, I don't know what you guys are planning on doing in Avengers. I don't know what your motivation is for the character. I want to make sure that it fits in with what you want for this character. Because I want to tell cool stories, but I want to make sure that people who created the characters are happy with them at the end of the day.
Right.
So I feel like that's a base level of respect for other creators. And Mark was good enough to tell me that he wasn't going to do my job for me, and I needed to figure it out myself. That it didn't matter what he thought, that I should figure out what I want to do with the character and tell my story. But he gave me some sort of ideas of stuff I should read. One of which was a story that he wrote about Hank Pym, Ant-Man, who's Nadia's father. And it was about sort of how Hank is different as a scientist from Tony Stark and these other guys. That Hank is much more of a try to do it because nobody has done it, because he can. Kind of scientist, not try and do it with this form and function and technology involved.
To be fair, that's also how you get Ultron.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's, it was sort of, I took that as motivation for Nadia, as her being a character who's, curious and excitable and wanted to try things. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And that was sort of where we started off, is the idea of her being curious and excited. And how that felt with the origin of her as having, come up in the Red Room and being trained as an assassin and a mad scientist. So she has all this training. She has this former life that she's trying to leave behind, but it can't help but influence who she is now.
So how many issues of the Wasp have you done so far?
So I have written, I think it's 18 total issues of Unstoppable Wasp in 2 volumes, plus a couple of other, I think I've written 3 or 4 issues of the Avengers that she appears in as well. I think that's all the times I've written here. And then a tie-in to Dell Computers for the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, weirdly starring the comic book versions of the characters and not the movie versions of the characters, but colored as the movie versions of the characters. It's a very confusing setup.
When you just mentioned you work on the Avengers book, is that something that you did by yourself, or does the creators get together and kind of put together what they think?
So I co-wrote those with Mark Waid. The first one was actually a result of sort of the conversations we had around Nadia, because when I finished the first issue of Unstoppable Wasp, I wrote it and I sent it to him, and I was like, hey, is this right? This is what I came up with from what you said and what I wanted to do. Does this make sense to you? Does this feel like your character? And he was really excited. He felt like I had a good voice for the character, and he knew that at that point, Mark Waid, a lot of comic book writers that have 20 different books, was way behind on everything. He was like, hey, I know I have to write this story as part of Civil War II that's going to be about Nadia and Janet in Avengers. Would you want to co-write that with me? And I was like, do I want to co-write an issue of the Avengers with Mark Waid? Yes, I do want to co-write an issue of the Avengers with Mark Waid. Okay, that sounds good. So that was interesting because basically, he had set it up in another issue and saw wrapping that up. So he didn't know what he was going to do with it. but we basically got on the phone and sort of talked through what the plot would be, and then I wrote a first draft of the script, and then we traded it back and forth a couple times, which was really neat, and he's a great guy to work with. And then that then ended up with me co-writing a couple more issues of the Avengers later on with him, just because he was again behind, and he knew that one of the stories he was like Dario was on his team. He was like, yeah, all I know about this issue right now is that Doctor Doom in his sort of Iron Man form that he was doing at that point is going to be in this issue. What kind of ideas would you have? All I know is I'm guest starring him. And I was like, oh, he and Nadia would get along great. Nadia would love Doctor Doom. He's sure he's evil, and all the other Avengers are wary of that, but also that dude invented time travel and does magic.
The only time travel that actually sticks in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, that guy's a mad genius. Why would she not be way into?
Right.
So it turns into quickly becomes almost like a budding adventure between her and Doctor Doom, which was like, I was like, that's perfect. That's a story I want to write forever. And that was cool, and I got to co-write another issue with him after that one. It sort of had a little bit of Doctor Doom in it. It was cool though, because I also got to write as part of that I got to write Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man was in the Avengers at that point. I was like, it was one of those things that I never really thought about writing Peter Parker at any point, and I was like, oh, I know what this guy sounds like. He sounds like Peter Parker. I've read hundreds of books on this guy.
So you did some work on Vampirella as well, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So that was a lot of fun. It was basically just a couple of friends of mine had done some work for Dynamite, and I wanted to do something different, and I asked what they were looking for, and they were like, well, we have an opening coming up on Vampirella. I don't know if you'd be interested in doing that. And I was like, I haven't done a crazy R-rated vampire book thing. That's way off what people expect of me.
Right.
So yeah, let me do that. That sounds like fun. So it was, they were really cool because they had, Paul Cornell had just gotten off the book, and he basically hit a big reset button at the end of it, except for that it was still post-apocalyptic at that point. He just sort of left this, he fixed the problem that he created in it, and it was like, all right, so what do they do now? I was like, all right, the first thing I'm going to do is blow her up. So I blew her up as sort of the beginning of this story that happens with them, sort of, it's almost like a Mad Max story in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. It even has, a nice vehicle-to-vehicle fight, which is a fun thing to write, especially with, a vampire who can fly. Go from vehicle to vehicle that way. I was like, it's still fun to go back and look at, because even in context of other stuff I've done, I've done Open Thor and stuff that's a little more serious. But Vampirella, there's definitely a scene in the second issue I wrote where she's fighting some dudes in the back of the truck and rips a guy's jaw off and beats another guy with it. Just as far from the My Little Pony stuff that I've done work on.
Although that would be awesome.
Yeah.
She would be your girl. I just want you to recruit.
That's definitely one of those where I couldn't go directly from writing one to the other there, because I had come off of Vampirella. It's like, all right, I gotta write this issue of Ponies next, and it's like, and Twilight magic! Can she gore him with the horn? She does have a horn. No, nobody ever gores anybody with their horn. That's weird. Seems like somebody would do that.
It is a fan fiction.
Oh, I'm sure.
I bet.
All the story.
Everything's happening. Fan fiction.
But what's your work like on My Little Pony?
Generally, Pony is a lot of fun. It came about because I had at that point a 2-year-old who was really into Dora the Explorer, and Dora the Explorer is a rough one if you're a parent, because
I've heard good things about the movie though.
Yes.
yeah, I haven't seen the movie yet. I know every episode of Dora the Explorer starts out with them getting a quest, and then there are 3 spots along the way that they have to go to and do a thing, and then they did it. And there are at least 5 songs that you will hear in every episode happen sometime in there. And every time they finish a thing, they'll go through all the things that they have to do. So like it is very, I mean, it's written for preschool age kids, which is why it's like this. It's intentional. It's very repetitive. Yeah.
Where's the house? Right behind you.
It's there.
The house is right there.
Did you look for the house? Yes. Yeah, and you can only hear the map song so many times before you know what it's saying. And then I discovered, looking for other stuff for her to watch, I stumbled upon Friendship is Magic, the current My Little Pony series, and watched like 2 episodes, and I was like, why is this so good? Like, why is it funny? Why is it well written?
Yeah.
Why are all the characters distinct? Yeah, like,
Warden Falls.
yeah,
Warden Falls.
it's like, all right, this is a thing I can actually watch with her, and is great. So like, I started watching it before I ever knew anything about the comics, before the comics started, and then it just so happened that at Denver Comic Con one year, because I was writing kids stuff, they put me right over next to the row of My Little Pony guys, and I was made friends with Tony Fleece, who's a regular artist on the comic, and he was like, hey, you ever thought about writing this? And I was like, I'd love to write it. That'd be great, because like I already know the characters, I know the world, like I think it'd be fun. I think that's something my daughter would actually be into. And so yeah, I started doing it. And I think last time I checked, I had written the most issues of that of anybody. The one coming up that I've just turned in the script for will be 40 issues of My Little Pony comics that I've written, which is wild. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun because my editor, my editor for most of it, it's kind of switched around a little bit, but Bobby, who's been my editor for most of the time I've been on Ponies, is really good at knowing what Hasbro will say yes to.
Right.
So I don't spend a lot of time like writing stuff and pitching stuff that they then turn around and deny. But usually, I'll send him a couple of like 2-sentence pitches about, oh, this is what I want to do with this story, and I'll usually either get a like, yeah, I'll send it to them, or no, they'll never go for that. Every once in a while, I'll get a, I don't think Hasbro's going to go for this, but if you really want to try it, we'll pitch it to them, which usually ends up with a no. But it's pretty nice, because occasionally I get no's from Hasbro and stuff, but for the most part, he manages to shield both of us from each other, so I don't have to yell directly at Hasbro that like, this thing that you say can't happen has already happened in your show. Like, you tell me there cannot be dogs in this show, and in this comic there are already dogs in your show. Sorry.
Do you ever pitch to your daughter before you pitch to them?
Usually I do that after.
Guess this is what's coming.
Yeah, I'll be like, what do you think about this idea? Because if I pitch something and she gets invested in it and then they don't go for it, it's like, I get heartbroken. But yeah, it's that was the funniest thing for me, because like I was really excited about writing My Little Pony. I was like, yeah, she's gonna love this. Like, and I went and I was like, yeah, Zuri, I'm writing My Little Pony comics, and she was like, me too. And I was like, cool. It's cool. You go ahead and write your My Little Pony comics.
Yeah, it is. It's. I remember it was on. I used to get like my wife used to catch me. She's like, I'd be watching it, so she's like, you're into this. I'm like, it's good. Like I don't know what to say. It's good. Yeah, it's. But I will say this: I did get kind of weirded out when the Equestria Girls thing came out. My daughter was like, I gotta get this movie. I was like, what are you gonna get this movie? I didn't really watch it that much. I'd sit down every once in a while. But I was like, obviously they advertised it to her all day, and we put it on. I was like, are the ponies people now? What is happening?
Yeah.
She's like, sort of. It's a parallel world, Dad. And I was like, there's parallel worlds in My Little Pony? She's like, duh. My bad.
Yeah. No, that's My Little Pony multiverse.
I know.
It's I feel the same way about Equestria Girls, which I've said before. Like they've asked me if I want to pitch for Equestria Girls stuff before, and my answer is always like, those things are bizarre abominations.
It's
I'm fine with the talking ponies.
Yes, it's just.
I'd be fine if they were human, like if they were teenage kids in high school. But they're somewhere in between, and they have weird. Either they all wear furry boots or they have furry legs that are, I don't know. It's weird. All of them have the same kind of outfits. Occasionally, when they use magic, they grow horse tails and ears. Yeah, Equestria Girls freaks me.
Yeah, they like Sailor Moon morphed or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? I don't know if I can get behind it. No, but it was. And then of course we got all the toys. So I was like, this is Hasbro's grand plan here. It's like the next movie, they're all in different outfits, and I have to rebuy all of them again. Hasbro, busted.
All right, so you mentioned doing some work with Hulk and Thor. What's that like?
Yeah. So I guess it was right back before Ragnarok came out. Comixology and Marvel partnered to do they wanted to do a series with Hulk and Thor together, which Marvel came to me about, and I was like, I don't know, those two big guys punching each other. I don't think I've written any comics like that before, which I think is oddly true at that point, because I had written Wasp, I had written Princeless, and I had written Ponies at that point, none of which contained big guys punching each other. And I was like, how do I write Hulk and Thor hitting each other? But we ended up creating, they were very cool because it's got to create this whole sort of like story of the two of them, of the champion of the universe, who's basically the biggest, baddest guy in the universe, the best fighter there is, deciding that he wanted to fight the greatest fighter from Earth. And they had to figure out which one of the two of them that was. So they had to be put through this gauntlet of a series of challenges to determine which of them was worthy of facing the champion. So it's fun because we got basically the whole Marvel universe to play with. We get to throw them around wherever into all kinds of crazy situations. The first one, they're supposed to be out finding this belt from a frost giant, and they end up in a brood cave. And it turns out that one of these frost giants has been, infected, turned into a brood. So it's like a 30-foot high brood. It's 30-foot high, thing from Aliens, basically. So I was like, we're just gonna go like bigger and bigger every issue. And Marvel was cool with that. They let us do all kinds of crazy stuff.
What's up, bud?
What was it like writing for Moonstone in that their series, the evil therapist? She's my favorite Thunderbolt. Out of the evil Thunderbolts, my favorite is, out of the good ones, my favorite is, of course, Songbird.
Yeah, I really like actually both Songbird and Moonstone, but Moonstone in particular, I feel like is really great, has a lot of potential to be a really good villain, but for some reason doesn't seem to, she gets kind of short shrift in my opinion. That she usually, when she's used, is used as part of a team, and I like the idea of giving her the chance to get powered up a little bit and be super manipulative. Like she gets to go into Hulk and Thor's mind in this story, and just basically, just basically gets to mess with all of their insecurities for a whole issue. It's like we go bigger and bigger and bigger through the first three, and I was like, all right, for the fourth one, we're just gonna go in their heads, because both these guys are messed up, and like what better thing for Moonstone to do than just literally get in their heads and screw with them.
Thanks for using Moonstone for that and not the ringleader. Most people would do the ringleader because of the hypno thing, but I'm glad you went through one of Marvel's underused villains.
Yeah, I'm always looking for excuses to use Moonstone or Misty Knight or any of the number of characters that I love at Marvel that are like, I think generally considered to be like B or C level characters, that I'm like, oh no, I just really want to use, I always really want to use the Young Avengers and things, and they're like, no, it's like, no, trust me, they're great.
Your love for the Avengers Academy warms my heart. It meant so much to me to finally see what happened to Tigra's kid.
Yeah, that is one that I think from when I first started, I started coming up with the idea to do like a family reunion kind of thing with Nadia's family, And that was one of the first things that came to mind, was like doing something with Tigra's kid, who is sort of technically Hank's kid too, and like get to kind of play with that, because there's a lot of things that are set up in Avengers Academy that either go off to die in Avengers Arena or just disappear when nothing else picks them up. So
I'm
like,
still waiting for them to bring back, I feel so ashamed for forgetting his name, but basically the way that Metal dies in the first issue, you could easily undo that by doing the same thing you do to save Chrono and Chrono Trigger. I'm just waiting for the Gwenpool comic when she does that.
That's your next pitch.
yeah, thank you.
All right. So, is there anything that any books you would?
Foundation.
Yeah, Future. Oh, you got.
Time travel.
Yeah, is Future been out yet?
The first issue just came out on Wednesday.
Okay.
So it's just starting. We also had the week before that, we had a 10-page story in the back of Fantastic Four number 12, which sort of established how how Julie got on the team, because Julie wasn't with the team the last time we saw them. So we wanted to bring in Julie Power, who's also in the Avengers Academy, because I wanted to balance out the team a bit more, and I felt like there's a lot of young Moppety characters on that team, and without having the Fantastic Four or the alternate version of the Fantastic Four that was in the previous run to like balance and supervise, I feel like we needed some. Alex was going to need some help, because Alex Power is the leader now, and he's trying to kind of steer these kids in the right direction. They're on a quest to find the missing pieces of the Molecule Man who's been scattered throughout the multiverse. So they're on a quest to put all that together, and I wanted to bring Julie in to sort of supplement him, and also because I love Julie, I just wanted to use her more. But like, we also in the first issue brought in our villain for at least this part of the story, which is the Maker, which is the evil Reed Richards from Ultimate.
Oh man, that's such a great villain. Actually, there was a big article on that I read about Maker coming back.
Oh, what was that like? Did you go, hey, I want to bring the Maker back, or like, you got to bring the Maker back?
Well, it was actually a weird conversation, because when they originally said, oh, we want to do a Future Foundation story, I was like, okay, cool, great. So, Valeria and Franklin, and they were like, actually, Dan wants to have them in Fantastic Four, so you're going to have a Future Foundation, but you're not going to have the Richards kids, and you're not going to have any of the Fantastic Four. And I was like, cool, who do you guys think is the star of this book?
I know.
Because I was like, some people remember the Power Pack. Alex Power has some name recognition, but like, everybody that you just took out would have been the first choices for the stars of the book. So like, I can play all day long with B-level characters, but if you guys don't give me anybody that you think is going to draw a crowd, you're just going to cancel the book in 5 issues when nothing sells. And they were like, all right, well, what can we do to make it sell? And I suggested the idea, which we do in the first volume, of having sort of guest professors in there, which Yondu is fulfilling that right now. And they were like, well, we need a villain with some weight, a good villain that can, make drive them to like rise to higher heights and do stuff. And I was like, well, obviously Dr. Doom is spoken for. Galactus has been changed quite a bit and is doing other things as well. A lot of the mythology stuff is wrapped up in Thor. But like, what if we did something, with the Maker? Because the idea of like, Reed Richards is the guy that put this team together. He's all of their, dads.
Right, exactly.
What if we bring in an evil version of their dad to fight them? And like, I felt like he has the strength and the cachet as a character to like really bring people in who might not know any of the characters otherwise, and give it a shot if they might not have. And he's also a lot of fun because he's very like mustache twirling bad.
Right,
He's
exactly.
a very bad guy.
First thing he did when he came to Marvel Universe is turn a guy into an insane man.
Yeah, and I think like the way he's written in Al Ewing's New Avengers was really fantastic, and Al created a lot of like interesting things around his character that I wanted to play with and get to build on that we're gonna get to do as the series goes on. But yeah, there's a lot more surprises in store with the next few issues of Future Foundation as well. We're building all sorts of like cool, weird Marvel stuff in that I think people who are fans of Marvel history will get a kick out of, and people who are new will also like, even if they don't know that this was a big deal thing at some point in the 90s.
Sure. All right, so we've got about 5-10 minutes left in the room, so we're open up to questions. Any questions for Jeremy?
Okay, obviously, which is your favorite art that you ever wrote for either the Marvel or
That's a tough question.
Go into the archives, it's okay.
Yeah, that's a tough question. For Marvel, I've really enjoyed this last volume of Wasp that I wrote because we got to do some like stuff that I feel like is kind of important with mental health and with Nadia as a character and exploring a lot of different things within the characters in that team. With ponies, it's hard to say because like there are a couple of stories that I've done that I really enjoyed. Some of the one-offs that I did for like Friends Forever and stuff are a lot of fun. I really enjoyed bringing Sombra back and doing the Siege of the Crystal Empire story, which all sort of spun out of doing his origin in Fiendship is Magic. But I think my favorite now might be Nightmare Nights. We just did as a mini-series, which was fun because it came out of the pitch of like, hey, what if we did a My Little Pony Suicide Squad? Yeah, I was like, what if instead of using the main 6 characters or the Cutie Mark Crusaders that we usually use in every story, like a lot of the other characters, they'll tell you like, oh, well, they won't support a whole story by themselves. It's like, cool, but what if we made a whole team that's like Luna's team that, is all like former villains. So, I got to use Luna and Stygian and Trixie, who I love writing Trixie. And then Capper, who, was in the movie. He's a lot of fun to use. And then I'm forgetting somebody really obvious at this point. Tempest, who's also from the movie. Like Tempest, I love. So I wrote a whole like short arc or a 2-issue arc in the regular series with Tempest as well. And I like using her as a good guy because she's so opposite the rest of almost everything in Equestria. That like, in the story I wrote with her, at one point she's talking to one of the other princesses, and she's talking to Cadence, and she's like, why is there a princess of love and a princess of friendship? Like, this is why you guys get conquered all the time. Where's your princess of like military air supremacy? Like, why are you guys so focused on this thing? Like, why don't you do anything else? Like, you guys are, it's not serious, it's ridiculous. That was sort of fun to do with her, and then bring her back as sort of just the grumpy member of the gang in Nightmare Nights. And then getting to write Trixie anytime is just a ball.
I was confused with the soccer thing back in the 90s. And then
I like.
and then in the comics, he was like redeemed.
Yeah. So I like to say they're party canon.
Party canon?
Yeah, which like they all take place in the same universe. Obviously. Yeah. Generally, the line that Hasbro takes is that they're canon until they're not. So until the show does something to contradict it, which the show frequently does. I don't want to say that the people writing the show just don't read the comics or care about them, but that's certainly the way it feels sometimes.
It's a lot like what happened to Sombra
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Because I was like, why can't they just make this into the actual show? 'Cause I
Yeah.
would watch this. And I would surely watch the minutes.
Yeah.
You're gonna end up having a monkey's paw version of it. Well, you'll see the Nightmare Nights budding Equestria girls.
Yeah, that would be really weird. Yeah, I feel like, I think it's so strange because that we work on such different schedules from the TV show that to some extent it's impossible to coordinate everything because, you know, they're working like sometimes a year ahead of time, sometimes more to, you know, produce the TV show. And by the time we're writing comics that will be coming out anytime soon, like that stuff is already being animated overseas somewhere.
It's just in the comics, he sounds so menacing.
In the show, he sounds like an arrogant asshole.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I like my story because it's better. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, decisions were made.
Gauntlets were thrown.
Well, can we at least agree that he was better than this first premiere, where you just said crystal?
Yeah, he's got crystals and my crystal slaves. Which is why I chose him to do like the story for in the villains stuff. Is like everybody else had more stuff established about them, and I was like, Sombra's only said 2 sentences in the whole time he's existed. I can do literally anything I want with this character.
His voice changed. They were from like the same picture. I could do this all the way up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a choice. Yeah, but I felt like, you know, and the other thing was at that point they had already said, oh no, we're never bringing Sombra back. Like, you know, Megan, I think, had already said, like, oh yeah, Sombra's never going to be back on the show. We're done with that character. It's over. And I was like, cool, that means we can do anything we want to, and they'll never contradict it, which, guess what? It took them like 4 or 5 years to contradict it, but, you know, we still got there. I honestly don't know. I only have one other pony comic that's lined up to come out right now, and I don't think they've announced it yet, but it is. It revolves around the Pie family. So yeah, I'm doing a mod-centered story. So yeah, it's mod and Pinky, but and a little bit of Marvel, but mostly mod. Not in this one. But you know, Boulder does of course guest star. So. Yeah. It's all centered around the family, so it's really just the sisters and I think they might be just about the only ones. Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know what we're doing with the comic post show, so I know that Hasbro and IDW are still kind of working that out. But you know, with the show getting ready to wrap up and something new coming down the line for My Little Pony after that, there's been some discussion about whether we would continue Friendship is Magic stuff and continue telling stories from that world, or go with whatever the new incarnation of the show is. But I think there's lots of interesting possibilities to do both. Yeah. I don't know. No, I'm in the dark about that stuff. I know they are talking to IDW, but don't know what exactly that's going to look like yet.
Okay, so it's about wrap it up so they can prepare for the next panel. So Jeremy, if anybody wants to pick up any of these books that we talked about today, where can we find you?
I will be on the floor. I'm at I have no idea what the number is. I'm in the artist alley. I'm right there on the front end, so I'm easy to see.
You walk in, 2 rows, take a left.
There you go.
There you go. Easy good. Yeah, so swing by Jeremy, so you guys get a chance, get some books, we'll sign. write little fun notes. These three are actually mine. I'll made out to my daughter. It's been a very good tune. So, yeah, so mine. Appreciate you guys for coming. Yeah,
You guys have a great time.
Yeah, have a good time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Cut the chit chat and log on. We are the nerds. We are the nerds of the apocalypse. Yep, we are the nerds. We are the nerds. We are the nerds of the apocalypse. We are the nerds. We are the nerds of the apocalypse. We are the nerds. We are the nerds of the apocalypse. If it don't confuse the podcast.